working for you.
Earthquake. The news only gets worse. Tonight, over 9,000 are dead, 35,000 missing, and now feared dead in Turkey. In depth tonight, an American scare, 4 dead from an unstoppable staph infection, and why doctors are so worried about this outbreak. Also tonight, your money. If you're waiting for a check to clear and would really like to know what the bank is really doing, you're not alone. And America's newest role models as wrestling moves out of the ring and into your neighborhood. Whatever happened to baseball practice?
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Substituting tonight, Brian Williams.
Good evening. The death toll in Turkey rose by thousands today, and there's a new estimate that over 30,000 more people may still be trapped and feared dead. Many believe that any rescues this long after the quake fall more into the category of a miracle. In many places, basic human needs cannot be met, and there's a real fear that the dead may overwhelm the living because the sheer volume of the carnage is a crisis in itself. Our reporting tonight begins with NBC's Ron Allen in Izmit, Turkey.
Today, only a handful rescued, mostly children pulled from the rubble. Now, fully 4 days, nearly 100 hours after the quake, chances of survival are growing slim. The rescue mission has become a race to recover the dead, perhaps 35,000. Workers cover their faces because of the stench, many vaccinated to guard against disease from decaying bodies. Turkey is trying to isolate and bury its dead as soon as possible. They've asked for 10,000 additional body bags to prevent the possible spread of typhus. And bulldozers are digging huge mass graves. At this site, 1,000 bodies buried together. To avoid a health emergency, Muslim leaders forgo religious customs. There are no separate burials for men and women. There is another major health threat, a possible outbreak of other diseases, cholera, typhoid, with millions of people camping outdoors, poor sanitation and hygiene.
And when you get a lot of people living in situations like that, that's a breeding ground for communicable diseases.
Hundreds of families crowd this camp near the quake's epicenter. There is little water, virtually no sanitation.
We can't wash our hairs, our body, and we are afraid of getting sick, getting ill.
Life in the open is taking its toll on the young. This 9-day-old baby's face burned red by the sun. We don't have any medicine for the children, this man says. His baby is sick with diarrhea. Today, health workers trying to fight off potential epidemics, giving typhoid shots to children, spreading disinfectant in the streets, treating coastal areas where raw sewage washes up on shore. For the first time in some neighborhoods, picking up piles of garbage. Today, some signs of more food arriving, mostly donations from neighboring communities. But people here still complain they're not getting enough help to meet their basic needs. Ahmed survived 7 hours under the rubble of his home before being pulled out. Now he's living with his family on the street.
It isn't comfortable.
It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
He thought being rescued would end his nightmare, but now, like so many others, he's faced with more misery. Tonight, there are 1,000 rescue workers on the ground. Turkey's army has sent some 50,000 troops to the earthquake zone. But still, the relief effort is bogged down in chaos and confusion. 2,000 U.S. Marines could come ashore this weekend, but the Turkish government still hasn't figured out the best way to put them to work. Brian?
Correspondent Ron Allen with us tonight from Izmit, Turkey. And as we just saw, another cruelty of this kind of natural disaster often comes after the destruction and the deaths. It's the risk of that rampaging disease in a country with no way to stop it virtually. It is carried by air, water, and contact. It can often make her a second wave of disaster. Our report on that tonight from NBC's Robert Hager.
As aid groups like AmeriCares pack medical supplies for Turkey today, they're mindful of these threats. No clean water to drink, no functioning sewage system, and high temperatures. Conditions ripe for the rapid spread of microorganisms, says the National Institutes of Health's Dr. Anthony Fauci.
There's probably going to be a lot of dysentery and diarrhea and waterborne infections.
More serious, the potential for typhus causes high fever and death, spread by insects.
the most extraordinary example of the devastation that typhus could actually bring to the population is immediately following World War II in Russia, where tens of millions, probably around 30 million people, were infected with typhus, and up to 3 million of them died.
Fauci believes that looms as a big threat in Turkey, too. And another little publicized but very real problem, kidney failure, common after muscles and bones have been crushed by debris, allows poisons like excess potassium to build in the bloodstream. Cornell New York Hospital's Dr. John Sullivan.
If the potassium released from the crushed muscle is very high, the patient can possibly succumb in hours.
Hundreds of portable dialysis machines being rushed to Turkey to treat kidney failure, and drugs for those with chronic diseases.
People suffering from diabetes, from respiratory illnesses, from hypertension really go untreated. So what will happen is those conditions will worsen. They will, in fact, can become life-threatening very, very quickly.
Then there are the myths. For instance, the fear of cholera, which in Africa swept through Rwandan refugee camps 5 years ago. Experts say conditions are different in Turkey.
There's a far-out chance that you'd have something like cholera, but unlikely, because if a microbe like cholera is not already in that population, it's not going to just appear when you have a disaster area like we're having now in Turkey.
Another myth, according to Fauci and the World Health Organization, that bodies left unburied breed disease. Not so, say the experts, say priority should go to treating the living.
And priority to clean drinking water, to portable toilets and showers. Now, more than any sophisticated drugs, only the restoration of basic sanitation can stave off a terrible epidemic. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
The Western Hemisphere was shaken by 2 other earthquakes today, mostly breaking windows and rattling nerves. In Central America, a tremor measuring 6.7 rolled through Costa Rica early this morning. It was strong enough to be felt in Panama and Nicaragua as well. Also early this morning in the United States, in Montana, a moderate earthquake shook a sparsely populated corner of that state. Like Costa Rica, there have been no reports of injuries or serious damage there. When we continue this Friday evening, in this country, a mysterious outbreak of an unstoppable and deadly infection.
What we report here clearly shows that some of our worst fears are coming true.
A simple infection, suddenly resistant, though, to the usual treatments. An important in-depth report for you tonight. And waiting for your check to clear. It's your money, so why can't you get it any sooner?
Traveling through Arizona, we blew a front tire. It shot off the road, and I looked down at the ground. It is crawling with rattlesnakes.
It was unbelievable.
I pushed the OnStar button. Within seconds, the OnStar advisor pinpointed our location and sent a tow truck.
Call the paramedics.
Yeah, and kept talking, because we
hate snakes.
Yeah.
OnStar.
During the OnStar Summer of Savings, get the OnStar phone-based system and installation at no extra charge when you prepay for a year of service. Call 1-800-OnStar-7.
Finally, a polished brass finish that holds up under siege. New brilliance for the kitchen. From Delta, it's guaranteed to shine for life. Delta, the faucet.
We're gonna change your mind about coloring your gray with the natural look of Just for Men.
You look so natural, no one can tell with Just for Men. No one can tell with Just for Men.
Just for Men penetrates hair deep inside where natural color begins. Simply apply, and in 5 minutes, rinse. Gray is gone, matched up to the rest of your hair.
You look so natural, no one can tell with Just for Men.
50 is beautiful. And to stay that way, Pro Vital Perfecting Moisturizer. It evens out skin tone with a hint of sheer color, so you're radiant, glowing. Pro Vital from Olay, proven to be why women over 50 look so wonderful.
Ask your doctor about Viagra.
Dateline Friday. Forget Julia Roberts. Meet some real runaway brides. What makes a woman say I do, then I don't? A Dateline People magazine exclusive. Plus, buying a used car, using a payphone, or investing in real estate, there's something you should know to keep from getting ripped off. Buyer beware. Dateline Friday starting at 9, 8 Central.
NBC News in depth tonight. Important health news. A common bacteria suddenly resistant to almost all antibiotics to fight it and taking a deadly toll. According to the experts, it could be another sign that Americans are making some unhealthy choices in that they're taking too many antibiotics. Every year in this country, doctors write 100 million prescriptions for antibiotics. It is estimated that as many as half of them are not needed. Now, a growing fear that too many antibiotics could be creating a new health threat. NBC's chief science correspondent Robert Bazell begins tonight in-depth reporting.
A terrifying scenario coming to pass. The deaths of 4 children show that antibiotics might no longer protect against one of the most common, easily acquired infections.
What we report here clearly shows that some of our worst fears are coming true.
The bacteria, Staphylococcus or staph, so common that almost everyone carries it on their skin. Occasionally it enters the body through a cut, causing an infection, easily treated with antibiotics, but not if it is a resistant strain. Until now, strains resistant to the usual antibiotics struck only in hospitals and nursing homes. But none of the 4 children was sick or in the hospital, and officials say there is no connection between the cases. A 16-month-old girl and a 1-year-old boy from rural North Dakota, a 13-year-old girl from rural Minnesota, and a 7-year-old girl from an urban area of Minnesota.
All the children started out with rather common, simple infections with Staph aureus bacteria. However, because the treatment was not effective against these particular strains, the illnesses progressed, ultimately involved a number of organs in the body. The children developed severe cases of shock and ultimately died.
The children were among 200 cases discovered in those 2 states in the past 2 years. While there were no other deaths, many scientists believe these cases sound the alarm for a nationwide danger.
In fact, the resistant bacteria struck in Washington, D.C. Last July, Betty Francis, who works for NBC News, had a simple infection in her elbow. But despite antibiotic treatment, it got worse, until she finally had to be hospitalized.
I think it took them about 4 days to realize that the antibiotic that they normally use for that infection wasn't working.
Doctors saved her with the one high-powered, expensive antibiotic called vancomycin that still eliminates most staph infections, if doctors know to use it. What is most frightening is that in hospitals, super germs are appearing, resistant even to that drug of last resort, literally turning back the clock to the days before antibiotics.
For those patients, they're really back in 1936 in the sense that they have to depend on their host defense mechanisms, their normal immunity, to survive the infection, and that works often, but sometimes does not.
Doctors see the deaths of the 4 children as a wake-up call for one of the major emerging health threats of the modern age. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
Also, there's this. Too often lately, parents with a sick child ask immediately for antibiotics, but there are new worries about over-prescribing what can be and used to be wonder drugs. Dr. Julie Gerberding is the director of Hospital Infections Program at the Centers for Disease Control. She says this new staph infection threat could be a wake-up call. Tonight, Dr. Gerberding in her own words.
This is a rare problem, fortunately, right now, to have such serious infections caused by these resistant strains. But it is important, and it does tell us that we need to get the word out to the physicians who take care of these kids to make sure that they offer the right treatments. Parents need to know that antibiotics can be harmful to their kids, and you have to make the decision about when to use an antibiotic with the help of a physician who really is the objective expert and can sort out when is it a staph infection, when is it a common cold or a viral infection for which antibiotics really shouldn't be used. We kind of live in a society where we reach for the bottle of pills every time there's a problem. And for some of the common infectious diseases, antibiotics are not the right thing to do, and we end up with bacteria that are resistant. For right now, I think the one thing we know for sure we can do is to use antibiotics as judiciously as possible And by judicious, I mean use them for infectious diseases where we know they help, and avoid using them for colds or other problems where they clearly are of no benefit.
That was Dr. Julie Gerberding of the Centers for Disease Control tonight in her own words, taking a look at Wall Street today. In just a moment, when we come back, what really happens to your money when you deposit a check, and later on, WrestleMania, amateur style. What gyms from coast to coast are now filled with guys who just want to get into the act.
Why do I have Aflac insurance on top of my regular health insurance? Because she throws like a boy and dances like an angel. Because we've shared the same heartbeat. And because Aflac helps cover what other insurance doesn't. If I'm sick, Aflac even provides cash to help pay bills. So why do I have Aflac? Because I have her. Aflac supplemental insurance. Without it, no insurance is complete.
Have you tried these yet? Specialized blends from One A Day. Herbs, vitamins, and minerals for things like tension and energy. One A Day. They're just what you need to feel your best.
Why nasal crom? Look at me. I'm not sneezing, but I'm not drowsy. I'm not stuffy, but I'm not jittery. Nasal crom's incredible. It prevents allergies with none of these side effects. Nasal crom. The best way to stop suffering is never to start.
Resisted barbarians, overpowered savages, thwarted the uncivilized. And that was just on the drive to work. Chevy Blazer. Steel-reinforced double-wall doors, powerful Vortec engine. A little security in an insecure world. Chevy Blazer, like a rock.
There are those among us with very simple tastes. They only want the best. And for them, there's Fancy Feast gourmet cat food. Exceptionally moist and delicious. Fancy Feast. Good taste is easy to recognize.
It's time. Time for your heartburn to kick in because your heartburn relief gave out. It happens 2 or more days a week, even though you've treated it and changed your diet. That frequent, persistent heartburn may be due to acid reflux disease, potentially serious.
It's Prilosec time. Time to see your doctor about prescription Prilosec. Your results may vary, but for many people, Prilosec provides 24 hours of complete heartburn relief with 1 daily dose. Ask your doctor for more information about Prilosec and if it's right for you. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. 24 hours of complete heartburn relief is possible. It's Prilosec time.
Sunday, George W. and privacy. What's off limits? What do Americans need to know? Jerry Ferraro, Orrin Hatch, and John Kasich on Meet the Press.
Get more of the Today Show with Later Today, coming in September.
After an active week, now our look at Wall Street today. Trading was light with a lot of investors waiting for Tuesday. That's when the Federal Reserve meets and a decision comes on another possible interest rate hike. But stocks were up just the same. The Dow gained almost 137. NASDAQ was up just under 27. Now, for the week, the Dow gained 127 points. NASDAQ, in the end, after 5 days, was up 10.5 points. Tonight, it's your money. You're paying it out by check, but it's not money yet until the bank says it is, often days later. Why does it take so long for a check to clear these days, and what is the bank doing with that money in the meantime? We get some answers tonight from NBC News Chief Financial Correspondent Mike Jensen.
With a big expense coming up, his daughter's wedding, John Ellis did what so many others do. Went to his local bank in Florida and deposited checks from his investment account at Prudential, $11,000.
To make what I thought was a routine deposit.
At that moment, his money became part of a river of $140 billion worth of checks shuttling from bank to bank. What happened to John Ellis? The day after he made the switch, he confirmed $11,000 had been transferred out of his account at Prudential.
So I did not have access to that money anymore.
But was it available at his Nations Bank branch? Hardly. He was told he couldn't touch his own money for a full 2 weeks.
That seems long, but it's perfectly legal. We call it clearing a check, but bankers call it the float.
It can be maddening because, as most people know, your money's in limbo. You can't touch it, withdraw it, or write a check on it. Consumer advocate Ed Mierzwinski says it's a ripoff.
Banks pick consumer pockets to the tune of $5 to $10 billion a year in fees and interest earned on the float on money that belongs to consumers. That's outrageous.
Bankers say it's reasonable that the typical check clears in just a day or two, and there's a good reason if it's longer.
Congress and the Federal Reserve have given banks extra time to hold checks to avoid fraud.
But Mierzwinski says the system penalizes honest customers whose checks are good.
99.9% of all checks from regular customers clear.
John Ellis was a regular customer, but his problems with Nations Bank went from bad to worse. The day after the bank had promised his money would be available to him, after that 2-week wait, he tried to cash a check and it bounced. And then what happened? Ellis says the bank tried to charge him $29 for an overdraft, even though his account had plenty of money. He says the bank backed down when he complained. Nations Bank refused to go on camera or to talk about John Ellis, but said there are lots of bogus checks in Florida and it does not make money on the float. But John Ellis says, so what?
We live in an electronic society today, and it shouldn't take 12 to 14 days to clear a check.
At any given moment, 360 million checks out of reach because of a banking system critics say is antiquated and often abused. Mike Jensen, NBC News, New York.
In Boise, Idaho today, a ceremony marking a truly great comeback in this country. Interior Secretary Bruce Babbitt announced the peregrine falcon has been taken off the U.S. endangered species list. Pesticides, especially DDT, did so much damage to the falcons. They were down to just 39 breeding pairs. That was back in 1970. Now there are over 1,600 pairs across the country. The peregrine is the fastest bird in the world, by the way. It can reach a top speed of 200 miles an hour. We'll be right back here tonight with wrestling's next generation, from prime time to the local gym, and it's big.
3 minutes from now, a heart attack victim will be rushed into this emergency room. Medication will be injected. IV fluids will be needed. The patient will be protected from infection. Breathing will be assisted. And one more life will be saved.
Mrs. Hanson? Yes. Hi, I'm Dr. Moore. Her husband's doing fine. Oh, I'm so glad.
Thanks to advanced medical techniques and a material we call plastic.
Huff's Back to School 3-pack not only gives you stronger tissues than the leading regular brand, it gives your kids a chance to win a week at the U.S. Space Camp and free space stickers in every pack. Cosmic.
To be the best takes strength, speed, endurance. Now the best way to cure athlete's foot has it all. New Lamisil AT. Strength. Full prescription strength to stop the itching and burning. Speed. These take 4 weeks of treatment to kill the fungus. Only Lamisil AT cures athlete's foot with just 1 week's use. Endurance. A study showed most users were still athlete's foot free 3 whole months later. Get it all in new Lamisil AT. The best way to cure athlete's foot.
This is indeed a small miracle, a triumph over everyday arthritis pain, made possible by a remarkable medicine, Tylenol Arthritis Extended Relief. So effective even the newest arthritis prescription hasn't been proven to work better on pain. And no other type of pain reliever is gentler to your stomach than Tylenol. Miracle drug? Someone sure thinks so. Tylenol Arthritis. Take comfort in our strength.
The most wonderful time of the year.
It's that time of year again. They're going back! It's back to school time at Staples! Over 7,000 supplies at guaranteed low prices.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Staples. Yeah, we've got that.
Coming up at 6 o'clock, new information in the case of a man accused of killing his own baby. We will hear for the first time the frantic call for help. Also, one of Nashville's long-standing churches, heavily damaged after a fire caused by lightning, is set to reopen its doors. We will show you the results of rebuilding. The Scene at 6 is next.
The governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, is busy this weekend. It has nothing to do with governing. It has a lot to do with show business. He'll be acting as a guest referee in a pro wrestling extravaganza called SummerSlam. The World Wrestling Federation is paying him $100,000 for the job, which he is donating to charity. But he could rake in as much as $1 million or $500,000 in video royalties. He won't say what he'll do with that windfall. Professional wrestling isn't just primetime TV anymore. It's going local, as in a gym near you. Here with that, NBC's Roger O'Neill.
If there's a ring to be thrown out of, or a folding chair to be hit with, you found the world of wrestling. Where in the minor, the bush leagues of pro wrestling, there's even more action in the stands than between the ropes. No one calls it sport anymore. More like testosterone theater with living action figures and comic book plots. Bodies are props.
Come on, Don, get up.
Pain or painful acting brings cheers. But it's enormously successful and growing. In the big leagues of professional wrestling, $1 billion a year business now. 8 hours of TV time a week, mostly on cable, but 7.8 million viewers. $1 million salaries for these wrestler actors. The bravado, the fireworks, the girls, not the wrestling, are the most important parts of the show. Indiana University professor Walter Gantz studied a year's worth of wrestling programs. After commercials,
we left with about an hour and a half of airtime. On average, there were about 36 minutes devoted to wrestling. That meant that there was about 1 hour devoted to laying the storyline, giving the fans a reason to root for or against the wrestlers.
Where do they come from? Most from thousands of minor league wrestling schools, the Palace of Pain near San Diego, to name one. Here, wrestling wannabes learn their craft, moves and falls for sure, but more important, the critical, oh, that hurts look. And Communications 101, working the crowd. TNT, a.k.a. Corey Van Cleek, has been at it for 8 years, a so-called heel. In the ring, the bad guy. When his game face is on, he's an animal.
Which is what we're set up
for. But by day, a soft-spoken, easygoing guy teaching the P's and Q's of good customer relations to new small business owners.
Most of my friends who have ever come to see me wrestle are absolutely shocked the first time. I go from kind of being the teddy bear in the day to the grizzly bear at night. But I love it.
He must. For all the abuse, in the minor leagues, a $30, maybe $50 paycheck is the norm.
A lot of wrestlers like Alcatraz use what's called the choke slam to finish an opponent off. But remember, this is theater. It's rehearsed and planned. What worries a lot of wrestlers is that as the sport has grown in popularity, a lot of youngsters are now trying choke slams in their own backyard.
It's the new rage. Teens trying everything their heroes do on TV. Harmless most of the time. People can't seem to get enough of this entertainment, whether it's wrestler turned governor or a I just want to be like him up and comer. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, San Diego.
And that is NBC Nightly News for this Friday. Don't forget Dateline tonight at 9 o'clock. And I hope to see you later this evening for the news on MSNBC on cable at 9. And again on CNBC each evening at 10. I'm Brian Williams, reporting tonight from New York. Good night, everyone.
Nightly News is a presentation of NBC News. More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
Nashville's utility companies